Hello and welcome back to the MMA Split podcast. I'm Matt.
I'm hungover.
And his name is Josh. He is here in body, if not mind or spirit, to talk about everything that's happened at UFC Vegas, Holloway versus Rodriguez. A card that I'm going to be honest, I wasn't that excited about. I didn't even watch live due to actions over my weekend and my sleep pattern and all the rest. But holy shit, if this isn't a fucking, fourth weekend in a row we've had a fight of the year contender?
Yeah, something like that. It's a good streak.
Holloway Rodriguez, Gaethje Chandler, Petr Yan versus Corey Sandhagen. And then the week before we had Marvin Vettori against Paulo Costa.
It's true. Where do we have the event before that?
The event before that was less good.
It was the Dumont Lad one. But
that's the one. That was not a fight of the year contender.
No, that one wasn't. There were some good fights on there, but not like, not a fight of the year. Okay. 4. Was it 4?
4 in a row. 4 in a row. One of them,
and the streak's alive.
And the streak is still going. I don't think the main event is going to be a contender, funnily enough, for next week. We'll touch that on the pick show. But however much love I've got for Miesha Tate, I don't think her and Ketlen Vieira is going to put a contender in there. I've got to look at the rest of the card to see if we've got a potential shout. And to be honest, you never know. I would be greatly surprised. We are not here to talk about next week's card.
No, but I would say Davy Grant against Adrian Yanez.
That might be a fight of the year contender.
Maybe not fight of the year, but I'm pretty excited about the co-main, Chiesa against Brady.
Oh, shit, that's an awesome co-main.
Yeah.
Again, would be surprised if that ends up being fight of the year, but we are going to find out. And we're going to talk about it when we do our pick show. For now, we're here to talk about the action that's already happened. We got to start with Max Holloway. I wondered why he took this fight. After the second round ended, I really wondered why he took this fight. I was very concerned. I was looking at this just thinking like, you've gone and fought this bloody flying kick killer that's been training for 2 years, has come back looking like a different version of himself. And Max found a way. He found a way. He found a way with his grappling, with his pressure, with just accepting that no matter how fucked his calf was, he was going to keep coming forward and making things happen. And for those last 3 rounds, he just did a great job of getting the fight to where he needed it to be. But some of the shots, the damage that both of these guys took, it was just an absolute war of attrition mixed in with excellent stylistic MMA matchups, different elements of martial arts, guys making adjustments, the fight taking place in all phases of the game. I mean, it doesn't match Chandler Gaethje in terms of the violence and insanity, but in terms of the martial arts, the skill, the variety on display, as well as the grit, determination, heart, violence, damage, and all the rest. This was a hell of a fight. I'm so happy Max won. But it wasn't easy for him. I mean, this was about as hard as you're ever going to have to dig in. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Yair did really well, coming in with the kicks up the middle, the front kick, the low kicks, but everything had kind of like minimal wind up on it as well. He wasn't kicking as hard as he can kick. It was probably like 80, 85%, something like that. And yeah, he kind of gave Max a bit of a run for his money there. I mean, for me, Max, controlled the fight, clear winner. And I would have thought that if Max wins this fight, inevitably I'm saying, well, we know who the 2 best guys in the division are, and then there's a gap between them and the rest. But, Yair kind of, made a good case for kind of being the number 2, number 3 guy, number 2, number 3 contender behind Holloway. And I hope this means we're going to get Yair against Ortega, because that'd be pretty fucking cool.
Oh, we have to. We have to at this point. And I agree with you. I think Yair showed, for starters, I realized very quickly that he's a bad matchup for Max. the leg kicks, the speed, the fact that he had, an ability to box on the inside as well. It wasn't like, okay, you just close him at kicking range and then that's it. It really, he was willing to stay in there with the pocket and trade with Max and fire shots back and then move away and land a kick. And particularly after round one, I kept thinking, like, this is the one issue with Max's style, is without that grappling threat, you can, and without that kind of insane power, more of that kind of volume striking coming forward, a guy can stand there and say, for every 3 you land, I'm willing to land 2 and back that I'm going to hit you harder. But Max adjusted to that. He adjusted really, really well, and proved he's an underrated grappler. I know it's grappling against Yair Rodriguez, and that's a big difference, but he still did a great job of controlling him, threatening with submissions, and to be honest, fighting a champion's fight, taking adversity, accepting that he can't let his pride and ego say, oh, I'm just going to beat this guy doing what I do because I'm the best. Made the changes he needed to, toughed through the pain and the shots that he was taking to get there. And in the end, like you say, the fight became less close, obviously, as the rounds went on. By round 4, you could kind of see which way the wind was blowing. But still, for that first 2-3 rounds, it was fucking excellent from Yair Rodriguez. Not to mention the fact that, have you seen the pictures of his foot?
Oh, I haven't. I know his foot's all busted up. I haven't actually seen the pictures yet. How bad is it?
To coin a classic MMA phrase, his foot was a balloon.
Okay.
But it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
And obviously, I saw him hop in at the end of the fight, and I liked when his cornerman went in for the handshake with Bisping. You see that?
I didn't
you guys,
see that.
You guys congratulate Yair Rodriguez at the end of the fight because his cornerman's got him, like, Yair's propped up, both arms up. He's like, I'll be Yair's hand. I'll do this. That was pretty cool. But I was watching it on my phone in a pub with Dave. Hi, Dave. And
hey, Dave.
Yeah, so I couldn't hear any of the interviews or anything afterwards. Just a bit frustrating.
Interviews were just, it's what you expect, man. Max was just saying nothing but props to the guy, saying, look at this guy, 2 years out, he comes back, puts on a performance like that. This guy that everyone else is afraid to fight, I had to step in and end up fighting him, and he almost beat me. Fair play to the guy. So, and then obviously from Yair, just like, we love Max. What a great fucking dude. Absolute honor. I'm going to go away. I'm going to heal. I'm going to work on my skills. There was no bad blood whatsoever between these two guys. Made me like Yair a lot more. And I think for him, he kind of took it like a guy who just had his title shot. He's just like, hey, man, I came up against the best. I'm still young. Yeah. There's things I need to work on. I'm going to go away and improve. And for Max, I mean, there's no doubt. He already had the next title shot, but now he definitely has the next title shot. Just for the fact that he's willing to fight this guy when he had no reason to fight this guy other than his own desire to prove that he's the best.
Yeah, did you see the video of McGregor stalking the TV down before the fight?
Can we talk about that actually, let's talk about that now. I feel like Max opened that door initially because he was talking about in the pre-fight build-up that him and McGregor's always on the cards. I think basically saying that he doesn't just need the title shot to have big fights. There's the move up to 55. McGregor's always there, this kind of stuff. So I think McGregor is responding to that. And to be honest, if I'm Conor McGregor, I kind of like that fight at 155. I like that fight a lot more than a lot of the other guys, stylistically.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, but also fuck that guy and worry about your fucking court case with the Italian DJ and you're like, you fucking prick.
Yeah. So, but it doesn't surprise me, mate. I mean, Conor's trying to stay relevant by tweeting on a weekly basis until he's back. That's all this is he's trying to stay in the MMA media, in the MMA cycle. And when he has some guy that he's fought before or that could he fight again in the future and he's on that card, it's an easy insert for him to get people doing exactly what we're doing right now, which is putting his name in the pot, discussing him, keeping him relevant. Guy's not an idiot, man. He's not an idiot. He might be an absolute coke addicted fuck up, but he's not an idiot. He knows how to play.
He looks a right dick in that video.
Yeah, but you're assuming that he is trying to not look like anything but.
Oh no, but how old's his son now? His kids are
All things catch up.
remember all of this.
All things catch up. But the other thing is, as well, is that when it comes to social media, people have, the cycle moves pretty quickly. You can find this stuff, but it's also going to be out of the media in 4 weeks' time. I mean, nobody's even talking about the DJ anymore when that came up. Do you know what I mean? And how far removed are we from some of the, the shit that he said about Poirier, some of the other offenses he's had recently, like Machine Gun Kelly, we don't talk about anymore. So he's like that kid that never gets punished. And it's almost like a positive affirmation that he can keep behaving like this because there are no repercussions. So of course he's going to keep doing this shit.
Yeah, I cannot wait until we are rid of this guy. It's going to come soon. It's coming.
He's knocking the door on 34 and he hasn't been active or looked after himself. It's coming quicker than he thinks.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. All right, back to the fight.
Max is a beast. Talking about pre-fight build-up as well, it's one of my favorite things I've heard somebody say, where he says, in this division, in this sport right now, is like there's a lot of guys who are queuing in an elevator. I take the stairs. No elevator divas in this camp. We take the stairs every single time. And what he means by that is it doesn't matter whether or not in his eyes he could have waited for a title shot. He will not do that. For him, he said, it's not any man, anytime, anywhere. It's every man, everywhere, every time.
Gotta love that. He's just got that warrior spirit. And fuck it, man. He backs it up. He is at the fucking very top of the tree. And I'm very excited to see how the trilogy fight with Volkanovski is going to go. Yeah,
I'm curious about it. And I did wonder how would somebody like Yair do against somebody like Volkanovski? Because you've got way more grappling threat. Volkanovski would game plan to do that a lot earlier in the fight. But he's got a lot more distance to cover. Those kicks create, and that movement is not easy to deal with. It'd be an interesting one. I think between all four of those top guys, Max, Volks, Ortega, and Yair, the matchups between all of them, I think, are really interesting because they've all got a different facet that kind of suggests that they could be effective against each other. And they're all reasonably young. I think Volkanovski's the oldest, and he's the only one in his 30s, I think.
Yeah.
I think he's 31 or 32.
I think Yair might be in his early 30s.
No, Yair's a little younger than Max. Only just. Max is 29.
Really?
Yeah. And I think Ortega might be 30. He might be 30, but he could be 29.
But anyway, these guys aren't old.
Yeah.
They're more or less hitting their stride at their peak. Yeah, it's weird because, to be honest, I think on paper there's a couple of bad matchups there for Volkanovski, but he just finds a way to surprise you. I thought Ortega was just going to be way too much of a threat to finish that fight.
You know what? I thought that at the time as well. And in the end, I realized quite quickly with that everything we saw against Korean Zombie, it's a very stationary target. The improvements in striking are much harder to measure when you aren't dealing with somebody who's moving in and out in the same way.
Yeah, definitely. But I thought with the power in the striking and just the sheer choke threat and the triangles and everything else, I couldn't see Volkanovski lasting 5 rounds. And then you're like, didn't. Yeah, you almost didn't. And there's a lot of dangerous guys at featherweight. Every weight class, but specifically here at featherweight, you've got some guys that can really finish fights. Giga Chikadze coming up. Arnold Allen's no joke, but shit, Volk's on top for a reason. I think I don't know if I want to live in a world where Holloway loses to him 3 times. Nothing against Volkanovski. It's just, that's our boy.
Yeah. It might happen, man. That's the issue. The only one thing I'll say with his win on Saturday is it raised and opened up little holes that you can poke in Max's style, and I think he's a little too easy to leg kick.
Yeah, but I got to figure he's going to make the necessary adjustments. Having the third camp for Volkanovski, they're going to be looking at a lot of different stuff, but I assume they'd definitely be addressing that.
The feints is a big one as well, man. Like he feints well with the hands, but he's not, you know what I mean? He's a pressure fighter. You don't really see him in and out. He's not sort of as light on his feet in that sense. And, you look at Volkanovski, how hard he was to hit. And I know Ortega's not Max, and it's a different animal. It's a tough fight. It's a really, really, really tough fight that I fucking hope he wins. And here's the thing, though, is that he'll win, and then they're going to do it again if he wins.
Oh, what if Holloway wins?
Yeah, if Holloway wins. They're going to have to do it again because, you know what I mean? You're going to have to make this a whole... The featherweight division is basically going to be Giga Chikadze waiting next to maybe an improving Yair, and Ortega still sort of floating around. And then potentially an Ilia Topuria coming up. And it's just like, we just got to wait. Why? It's just like, because just Max and Alex are just going to keep fighting. It's going to be like fucking Premier League football, just twice a year. Man City, the Manchester derby's on. Twice a year, it's just like, and Max and Volks are at it again. To be fair, that's what kind of happened with, who is it? Jake LaMotta and Sugar Ray Robinson. They fought like 7 times or something like that.
I didn't know that. That is crazy.
Yeah. Guess how many Jake won?
One. None. One.
But he did something to keep getting back there.
Yeah, I mean, shit, were they close fights? Or is it just like no one else to fight? No other big name?
I don't think there were that many boxers at that time. I think it's just it was a much smaller group of athletes. You just kind of fought who was around. I don't know, to be honest. I haven't seen the Raging Bull in ages.
Yeah, everything was controlled by the mob back then, right? So
yeah,
they probably kept it small.
Pretty much. It's been a while since I've seen Raging Bull. I need to rewatch that. But the scene where he just lets himself get the shit beat down out of him, that is one of the Sugar Ray Robinson fights.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I haven't seen it in a little while.
Great movie. Great movie. What's next for these guys? Title shot for Max. For Yair Rodriguez, we want to see Ortega and him rest up. So let's look down the rest of this card. Co-main event. Rogerio de Lima went at Ben Rothwell like the man had raped his wife.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
That's a little graphic, and probably I wish I'd see something maybe 3 degrees lower down the fucking extreme scale. But Jesus Christ, I mean, I don't know how many strikes he threw in a fight that lasted 38 seconds, but it's well over 50.
Officially 24.
Is that landed or thrown?
Thrown. 14 landed, 24 thrown.
It felt like a lot more.
Well, I think that's because Herb Dean seemed to think that he had slowed down time and was reacting in one very long moment. What did you think of the finish?
I thought it was Herb Dean's second guessing himself, I feel, at the moment with a lot of these. It felt like he wanted to go in, and then he went in and then sort of changed his mind and then had to have De Lima reconfirm his mind for him. And it's a tricky situation because if he goes in at his first instinct, when he starts to go in with confidence, no one questions it. But because he kind of hesitates a little bit and then doesn't make great contact, you see enough play out to see Rothwell effectively almost just fall on top of him. That's all it was. He was
Yeah.
already done, but it just falling on top of it. And so at that point, you start to wonder, oh, maybe actually this can continue. And then it stopped by Delima being like, yeah, dude, you touched me. The fight's over. I'm walking away. And really, you could see from Rothwell's body language that it was done. You know, that wasn't a man who was compos mentisly going for the takedown. That was a man who just happened to fall forward, and his gigantic body weight half took the guy down with him. But he wasn't clean. There was I've got no issue with where the stoppage should have been. But come on, Dean, like you used to be held as the gold standard here, and it feels like, you know, there's a balance between there's situations where I think you should be listening to some of the criticism and taking it on board, but that doesn't mean that you should be second guessing yourself. Those are two separate things. You still got to have confidence in the decision that you make. You just have to be willing to hear that criticism and kind of change to it. And I think this isn't the first time we've seen him be indecisive.
No. And I don't want to share him too much because, you know, you ref enough fights, you're going to make some mistakes, but that's a really bad one to make. You know, allowing a fighter that's basically finished to continue taking damage. Definitely want to be moving away from that. And yeah, this it does seem to kind of be creeping in with him. He's kind of become like what Derek Barnett is for the Eagles. You've seen Derek Barnett has this tasty habit of giving up really, really stupid penalties on like 3rd and longs. And there's even that the little clip in Nick Sirianni, just not even trying to cover his mouth, just goes, "It's always him. It's always him." You know, the Mahina Rodriguez against Amanda Hebus. Going back a little bit, but you remember Jorge Masvidal against Cerrone?
Yeah.
Well, it looked like he called off the fight and then started the next round.
At the very least there, though, is... See, when it's on the bell, that's the only situation where I do feel I have a little bit of sympathy for that, because it's that balance of it's the bell. Like, you get this audible sort of signal that kind of might make you think, okay, let's actually just see if this guy can get up right now.
Yeah, but he didn't look good going into that next round.
He did not, no. Not at all. And I think there's a lot of failure in communication between refs to doctors to corners to fighters as to who's the person that throws the towel in. You know what I mean? Who says it's done? And everybody always seems to point at somebody else. Like the cornermen will always see, well, the ref's going to stop it. You know what I mean? And quite often the refs will send them back to the corner thinking like, well, I'll give this guy a chance because if he's really bad, the corner aren't going to send him back out there. And then
but
maybe
the corner have to send him back out there because otherwise he changed camp for the next fight, a la Deontay Wilder, you know.
Yeah, and then maybe you think the doc comes in, but a lot of the time the doctor's coming in just to go like, okay, is there an eye injury that means this person can't continue? You know, that kind of stuff. Not like, oh, has this person taken the damage that I'm expecting him to take that may or may not be ruling him out, but obviously is probably a little concussed, no matter how you want to look at this point. Like, it's not an easy, you know, if a doctor really wanted to stop a fight on his basis, he'd stop a fight the moment a guy got punched in the face. You know, they're turning a lot of blind eye to the Hippocratic Oath when they're doing these events, let's be honest here. But they kind of understand that they're there for specific, like, fight ending injuries, basically. So I just feel like, you know, and then the fighters feel like they're not the person that can throw the towel in. I mean, we'll talk about an example where this actually happened in the card, and I'll get your opinion on it. This passing of the buck does not help in any way, shape, or form. And this balance between, I mean, the only thing I'd say with the Rothwell one is out on your feet is always a little hard to diagnose. You know what I mean? It helps when you get the person fall down in a certain way and you can just pick up, or you see a look in the eyes. When they're still standing up, it's the hardest balance to get. And I always feel that you don't want to get into that habit of just rewarding aggression. You know what I mean? Because any guy can just rock a guy and then go absolutely ballistic for 8 seconds. And even if he's not really landing or getting the guy out there, have the fight called off. And the other guy might just be like, the guy was burning himself out and going ballistic for 10 seconds. I covered up. Like, what the fuck am I meant to do?
Yeah, well, as soon as you touch the fighter as the ref, you commit. That's it. Like, how can you really let the fight continue after that point?
Yeah, I'd
Because
agree with you there.
if it was an early stoppage and you've stopped that fighter, you've got the force them to like kind of pull the shot. Then maybe that shot would have been the last shot, or maybe they would have been able to go on to finish him. So you've basically changed the fight at that point.
Yeah.
You've influenced it far too much. You just have to commit. If you've made the mistake, you've already made it.
Yeah.
That was a quick sequence of two bad mistakes. So, well, no, to be honest, I was happy with the stoppage when he touched him. That was fine.
Let's talk about the flip side of this as well, man, because what happens if because that fight only gets stopped because De Lima basically goes, yeah, dude, you've touched me, I'm walking away. And he then made that decision happen. Let's look at this a different way. Let's say that De Lima stops, looks at Herb. A couple of seconds later, Rothwell falls on him. He continues. Rothwell manages to recover like a zombie and then takes him out of there. Well, then you've got a really big problem because then the argument really applies. It's like, what if De Lima didn't get interrupted by you? He would have landed 2 or 3 more shots that would have sent Ben that way. And then 3 seconds later, the fight's over. You introduced a doubt, which then changed the result. So I think Herb Dean's very lucky that it did go the way that it did, because this looks a lot worse if it goes in that other direction.
Yeah, well, this is what I'm saying. As soon as he touches him, it's an irreversible effect on the fight. So you just commit. That's it. That's the end of the fight now.
Yeah. And he shouldn't trust his gut because that fight was over. And Ben is in his 40s. He's a big guy. He can always take a good shot, but he's not going to be fighting for a title. Let's be realistic here. Let's not, there's no need for him to, at that point in his career, to take extra damage that then keeps him out of the cage longer for his next fight where he might have a chance of winning. So not good. As far as De Lima is concerned, the guy looked fucking great. I mean, I don't know if he had a plan B if he didn't take Ben out in the next 15 seconds, because he was swinging fists like a man that was not thinking about the next 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah. Look, sure, this guy had a nice flash knockout. It's looks good. Ben Rothwell's a good name. Hadn't been finished by strikes since Cain Velasquez, I believe. But you're not going to get away with that again. Almost certainly not. And he hasn't looked like the best fighter at light heavyweight or heavyweight. Some of the guys he's lost to have been pretty good, but he also lost to Stefan Struve, OSP. You actually got Von Flood by OSP, which that's at that point it was almost like you were trying to fuck up.
Yeah.
Nikita Krylov is okay. A win over Clint Hester's not that great. Also Clint Hester's a middleweight, not a light heavyweight, so he kind of had too much of a size advantage. I just don't think Rogerio de Lima's going anywhere either. This guy's probably going to have some good fights here and there, but what's he, 36? Carrot seems to be carrying the weight a little better, but I don't know. I don't believe he can be that effective against top tier guys. He just great performance against Rothwell though. Take nothing away from that.
Let's be honest as well. Rothwell was there to be hit, particularly after the first one landed. Most guys that he fights, they're not going to be in place to take all of those shots.
Yeah, and he definitely caught him by surprise. And
happens.
I think if they do that fight, another 10 times, he's never going to catch him like that in the first round again. But still, it's always fun, always exciting. Kind of makes you think about fights like Ngannou, Rosenstrike. So fun division. Who doesn't love heavyweight?
Absolutely. Okay, let's talk about Felicia Spencer against Leigh Letson. This was not. I know featherweight isn't that deep, but the fact that this woman fought for a title 2 fights ago, the level of MMA on show was so low. This looked like a fight in a parking garage. It looks like 2 people drunk fighting on the street. And listen, it worked. Felicia Spencer beat her up and smothered her and elbowed her and just roughed her up for a solid 3 rounds and 4 minutes until it was finally over. But none of it was particularly technical, skillful. Any level of skill applied would have ended the fight much earlier based on the level of resistance that was being met. Just wasn't that good. I just kept looking at it, just thinking, like, in any other division, you don't get near a title shot with this fight style. You get found out before the top 10. It was, I was mixed between being happy for Felicia Spencer and thinking there's loads of good work here, but just thinking, like, yeah, you're roughing her up, but this isn't good MMA. This isn't, I've been working on my skills. This is
Yeah, it's a little shoddy. I mean, we didn't have much respect for Felicia Spencer's stand-up game before this anyway.
Dude, I'm sorry, man. You can't just hold that to the stand-up game, okay? The grappling was just... Where's the single legs? Where's the double legs? There's nothing from the clinch. It's literally just, I'm going to smother you, I'm going to grab you and use my size, and eventually with a little leg trip, you might go down. And if grappling's going to be your thing, you've got to be way better at it if you're going to have stand-up like that. Look what happened in the Nunes fight. She got out-grappled like there's no fucking tomorrow. Because she was up against somebody with a black belt in judo who actually knows this shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was lots of reasons she got absolutely manhandled by Nunes, but honestly, like, where does she go from here? Like, you win. Did she get the rematch with Dumont maybe, or I don't know? What the fuck's happening at featherweight? She's got to fight somebody.
There is nothing else. Dana White was as awkward as you can imagine when asked questions about it. Just like, it depends on the champ.
Yeah, go check the rankings.
Yeah. So this was not good. Lee Letson, you got the shit kicked out of you, but I'm not saying that it's your fault. But you weren't beaten by anything particularly impressive. And therefore, that makes me worried about the level that you are at and can go in this sport.
Yeah, like every now and again, she'll do something like a little flashy, but for the most part, it's just kind of so mediocre that you kind of get like a little thrown off by that highlight.
Yeah.
This is one of the few fights because, well, I guess you finished over 500 on the picks because we only had the one fight difference, the one coming up.
True. I knew I won the picks for the simple fact that we only had a one fight difference, and this fight came in for me. Almost didn't
have the best week.
Almost didn't come in for me. Baeza looked really fucking good in that first round, man. In that second round, he looked really good. But he did the same thing that happens to me when I play UFC 4. You just spam that fucking leg kick button one time too many, and it ends up fucking you up. Some 11-year-old playing in China gets your timings right and just does literally that to you. And I was more impressed with Baeza than I was with Chaos Williams for most of this fight. I thought Chaos looked very static, way too easy to hit, too tense. You know what I mean? Just trying to explode at every moment rather than kind of relax.
He's still kind of growing technically and tactically. He kind of came in just being like, I'm just going to hit you harder, faster and do it first. Now he kind of game plans to fight 3 rounds. And, to be fair, he did make adjustments, which led to the knockout. But yeah, you're right. He's still picking it up on the job. I'm actually the other way. I'm sort of more impressed with Williams because I'm like, he just keeps finding a way to just do this. And yeah, Baeza did look great. Went to the well one too many times. But Baeza definitely is young.
And also the problem is okay, he shouldn't have thrown the leg kick, but also the angle of punch that Chaos Williams ended up hitting him with, you just don't expect that. You just don't expect a guy half off balance to go, fuck it, one more. And
Yeah.
it was a mistake. But listen, every time Chaos Williams fights, it's intense and exciting, and it's something I'm looking forward to. Every time him, Semi the Jedi, every time Baeza fights, these guys are just great fun to watch. And they're starting to match up against each other, and they're going to have wins and losses. Obviously, Chaos has had the loss to, what's his face, the guy that you hate, Michel Pereira. And
The guy that most people hate.
He's growing on me, pal. I find him entertaining. I can't help
it. If he continues to also transition on the up as like a smart fighter and stop doing all the stupid shit that loses in fights to the likes of Tristan Connolly, yeah, fair enough. But he, like, whereas Chaos Williams is doing it in a way that I find kind of impressive, Michel Pereira almost does it reluctantly, like he wants to do the stupid shit. He has to kind of like an excited little kid, just hold himself back just so he can win some fucking fights.
Dude, his first martial arts was capoeira. Why do you think he's into this shit?
No, not everyone that does capoeira is mad as fuck. All right, he is uniquely batshit crazy.
I'm not going to argue with that. Hey, listen, Baeza, he got knocked out, and it's unfortunate. There's 2 losses on the bounce for him, I think, now. Was the fight before this for him?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Ponzinibbio before this one. So yeah.
But he's learning. He understands. He's got the leg kicks down, but he goes to that well a little bit too much. And I think he's had 2 fights in a row, even with the Ponzi fight. Ponzi kind of started expecting the leg kicks, and even though he couldn't stop them, he was just willing to stand in the pocket and just keep firing counters back every time the leg kick came in, because he knew obviously he wasn't going to be able to move out of the way. So I do think Baeza needs to understand how to use the leg kicks to then set everything else up, rather than just hoping if I keep kicking this guy's leg, he's going to go down. Because some guys will. Other guys will grit through, and other guys will find a counter or a way to take advantage of that and beat you if you become too predictable. Throw the body kick in there, use it to set the high kick up, use it to set your hands up, that kind of stuff. You already had him as a more stationary target. You could have maybe looked to, hit a move, get him, you could see that he already was kind of a little static. So there's lessons to be learned, but he's young. They're both going to move on and improve. Great fight. One of the better fights on the night. Would have been, did he get a performance bonus, or was it somebody else who got it?
No.
It's between him, Song, and...
Didn't KGB get a performance bonus?
Yeah, she did. She made the girl retire, man. That's a fucking performance. She broke her...
Sorry, I missed that. Did she actually do that in the ring afterwards, or has that come out since?
What?
So obviously I was watching it with Dave. As soon as like fights were like done, we were just kind of skipping forwards to the next one. But so did Calvillo like actually retire on the night, or is it something she's come out and said afterwards?
No.
Oh, do you just mean retired from the fight?
Retired from the fight.
Sorry. When you say like, she retired her, I think like more.
Sorry. I
missed something there.
Give it time, man.
I was just gonna say, because like she just started with a new camp and everything.
Yeah, but this is the problem with Cynthia Calvillo, man. She's always starting with a new camp. This is becoming a bit of a thing for her. She's becoming a bit of a journeyman fighter, not in both in her career and in the sense that she was at AKA for a bit and it didn't settle down. She tried ATT, it didn't settle down. She's tried somewhere else. I think she's now been at...
She started Team Alpha Male.
I think she started Team Alpha Male. So,
yeah,
apparently she's doing the Performance Institute now, but there's, it's very much, I don't know how much sort of kind of focused training and guidance she's getting on a regular basis. This is 3 defeats on the bounce for her. She wasn't utilizing the wrestling. It felt like she was trying to trade on the feet and then trying to go for a takedown, not using it to set the other up. And I mean, KG, Andrea Lee looked really good. If you try and stand with Andrea Lee and it's not your specialty, she's got good Muay Thai. She's going to counter, she's going to land, she's going to do damage. And she was focused. She's had that slight chip on her shoulder her last 2 fights. Like, she knows that things, have been a bit middling and she needs to kind of get her act together. And you could feel that. Still gets hit a lot. And getting hit by Cynthia Calvillo isn't overly impressive. But she looked great, man. And, she damaged her to the body, consistently, kept going back to the body. And, yeah. Calvillo, the only thing I don't know is if Calvillo stopped or if her corner stopped her. But I think it was, I think Calvillo came back to the corner and she was done.
Yeah. And I mean, I didn't pick Andrea Lee to win this one.
Nor did I.
I thought she
know.
Looked a little better. Yeah, I thought she looked a little better. I didn't think she looked a lot better. I think she looked a little better. Calvillo looked a little worse than usual. And that just kind of made enough of a mismatch there. But
listen,
I think
she's had what she had. She's had Chukagian, Andrade, and now Andrea Lee in a row. She has one win against Jessica Rai, and then was it a loss and a draw before that, back in strawweight?
Wait, so you're talking about Andrea Lee?
No, I'm talking about Calvillo.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Let's get it up. Let's go back. So lost to Esparza. Got it back against Zombie Girl, Courtney Casey, loses to Mahina, beat side, loses to Chukagian, Andrade, and now Lee for 3. So it's just not living up to the hype she had when she kind of first came in as a grappler. And I think Andrea Lee kind of gets away with kind of a flattering matchup. Well, I couldn't fucking call it before, apparently. But yeah, I'm really still not sold on KG.
Doesn't look like a flyweight. Doesn't look like a flyweight. Doesn't look like she can take the shots from flyweights. Doesn't look like she has the same success taking them down. Extra weight doesn't look like it's helping her out. I think she should consider going back down to strawweight. She's 1-3 at flyweight. She was 8-1 at strawweight.
Yeah, I remember her talking a lot early on in her career about trouble she would have cutting weight. She finds it particularly difficult. I think, unfortunately, she might just be a fighter that's going to kind of sit maybe around the top 15 at flyweight. But, time's running out, and I don't know how much she's getting paid, but, she did get in before the kind of Contender series, like financial standard, was getting set. So she's always going to, kind of be at a bit of a risk of getting cut.
Yeah. We'll find out anyway. I hope not. Because at the end of the day, she's lost to a world champion, a world title challenger, and a girl who's consistently been in the top 10 of this division since its inception. So she's not losing to bums.
No, it's still the UFC,
Yeah. Let's talk about Song Yadong. Song Yadong. I've doubted him in the past. He's starting to really come good. And he's working these kicks into his game that he sets up so well with his hands. He's so willing to trade. He's got power. Just at the moment, I was thinking he's a little one-dimensional. He sends Julio Arce into the nether region. The nether region? That sounds really dodgy. The nether realm. The nether realm. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, you did, yeah. Nether regions. I didn't even pick up on that at the time. I just heard nether realm. Yeah, man, I thought Arce was, going to be a bit too big for him to kind of knock around like that, but nope. That's just fucking great. Love Song Yadong. Love seeing Uriah Favors. Well, he's wearing the mask and everything. Underneath the mask, he's got that classic California kid beaming grin.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
And he's doing a good job with the man. He's
Not
been
to like.
touting this guy for a while. The loss to Kyler Phillips, I still think that type of fight is going to cause him an issue because he likes to be in that pocket, countering and trading and putting pressure on. And when guys are moving around a little bit more, there's still a lack of variety in certain aspects from distance in terms of how he sets everything up. But he's 23 years old, and this was his 10th fight or 9th fight in the UFC. The guy is young and he's gaining experience, and it looks like he's finding his groove. For Arce, he came up against a bit of a phenomenon. And listen, when you get hit, you get hit.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's a decent enough fighter. It's just that it was good to see kind of like this little test for him because, Casey Kenny was a good win. But we kind of had seen, losses to Cody Stamen, Kyler Phillips, and to be honest, also Chito Vera, although the record says otherwise. And you kind of worry, is that going to affect this kid's development, or is it going to really assist with development? Because losing fights teaches you a lot, but effectively losing 3 in a row really, it can kind of fuck with your process a little bit, I think. So it's good to see him firmly on this streak and looking fucking shit hot. It's really exciting to think, not just where he's going to go, but this whole fucking division's going to go.
One of the best divisions in the
Fun
UFC.
times.
Hands down. No question about it. Well, on the main card, we didn't look like total idiots because I got 1, 2, 3. I got 4 out of 5 correct. So,
we got 4.
No.
Oh, wait. No, I got 3. Fuck.
You got 3.
I'm hungover.
I got 4.
I'm hungover.
Yeah. But on the prelims, this shit's hard, man. I mean, we talked about Cynthia Calvillo, even though that was actually on the prelims. Didn't feel like it was on the prelims. But there you go. But let's talk about other things that we got wrong. So we got that wrong. Joel Alvarez. We didn't back the man fighting from the very country that we reside in. And he went through Thiago Moises. I mean, just
Jesus,
through him. I did not think that was possible to do to Thiago Moises. And listen, the question in this division is very soon going to be how well can you grapple with Dagestanis? And that question has not been answered yet. But if you can go through people on the feet that quickly who are tough as shit and as good as Thiago Moises, you can do some shit in this division.
Yeah, it's like he has some sort of cheat code to break his guard with those elbows. It was ridiculous. Of course, it doesn't hurt when you miss weight again. Less this time than the previous time, but he's a big guy. He's very young as well, isn't he? So I guess he's probably still getting bigger. 28. So
okay, well, he's still.
How many years left has he got doing this cup? Yeah, still the right side of 30. But fuck me, I thought this was a bad fight for him. Thought Thiago Moises was too tough, too dangerous, and Joel Alvarez coming out. Just quick night. Keep it simple. Fucking love those elbows.
That was pretty brutal.
Yeah, really exciting to have like Spanish fighter. Well, a couple of Spanish fighters doing really well.
Chris Barnett, the least sounding Spanish man ever born in Zaragoza, but he's still flying that flag and he's entertaining as fuck. So we got a few to root for.
And Elia Topuria. Shit, who else is there? I think that might be it in the UFC at the moment.
That might be it, but we'll take it. We'll take it. Fights we were right about. Sean Woodson. Yeah, he was always going to beat Anglin. No big surprise there. When your arms are that long, it's easy to land good body shots.
Yeah, he looks like he's getting a bit more, I don't know, kind of his posture, his frame and everything. Woodson looks a little less lanky and awkward, and a little bit more powerful. But still a weird looking guy. He still looks like a slender man.
He's got a weird body shape, but it's very well suited for a boxing style.
Yeah.
And he fights to his body shape very well. Other fight we were right about. Courtney Casey beat the shit out of Joshua. I backed what I knew. This was not a good fight, though. This is not a high-level fight. A better fighter would have taken Jojo out very quickly. Courtney Casey, she's got so many good qualities, but she also flatters to deceive a little bit.
Harsh, but maybe fair. Me and Dave got really thrown by the way Jojo was celebrating at the end of the fight. We were just like, "What's going on? Have they already done a decision? How the fuck did she win?"
So,
and
this was the only fight that I watched live, and I basically went to bed as soon as, because I came into this late, so I went to bed as soon as this fight was over. It basically put me to sleep. And I then woke up and watched the main card, and then went back and watched the prelim fights that I had not watched. So I did not see any post-fight stuff with this particular one.
They're just like coaches lifting her up. She had the flag over her shoulders, celebrating like she'd won.
That's ridiculous, because then the corner people were telling her, okay, now you're 2 rounds down.
I don't.
Well, she got hit in the face.
I'm pretty sure I saw it.
It's understandable.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure me and Dave saw what we saw. Might be mine and Dave's recollection as well,
Yeah.
Yesterday was a heavy one.
It's understandable. So, fights we were wrong about. Rafael Alves went through Mark Diakese. A lot of people were gone through. That's doing this motion a lot. The knee, and then, when Diakese is trying to go for a takedown, something is horrifically wrong.
Yeah, man. Fuck. As soon as he even halfway had it locked in, I was just terrified. And then taps as soon as it's done. Just Diakese isn't going to be able to get his way out of that, I suppose. I just thought he'd be able to do a little better against a guy like Alves, who he does like stand and bang sometimes. So.
He stand and bang.
That was fucking heartbreaking.
Wobbled him on the feet, rocked him with the knee, and then tapped him when Diakese tried to take him to his world. So, not the one.
Yeah.
And Kennedy, young guy, Nzechukwu. Listen, Jung hits hard. You kind of always have to come back in all of your fights, and you just weren't able to come back in this one. I think the key for him is to try and get to the mentality of not having to come back in the first place, and then he will win most of his fights, because the guy hits like a rocket.
Yeah, this guy's hooks are crazy. He just doesn't throw him. He just has that guard just straight up in front of his face, just letting people kind of swing at him, almost trying to play like a rope-a-dope, and just it's the wrong game to play in that weight class. I don't really know.
It didn't pay off for him this time.
We've seen him come back a couple of times. I was even saying to Dave, just wait until he gets his hooks going. It's going to be nice. And then, no. Still.
So, yeah, we did not... what was your total score on the picks? Because I just have to add 1.
Yeah, so I did 5 and 6. You did 6 and 5.
So, not our best effort. On the main card, we were good. But listen, this is a tough sport to call.
Yeah.
I will take my victory quite happily, though. Put it in my back pocket. Save it to bring my title out for our pick show later this week. We had some Bellator. Some Bellator happened. Cyborg, surprise, retains her featherweight title in ruthless fashion. Didn't watch it, but it didn't come as a great surprise to see that as the news story.
Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, no. I've heard it described, but I have not seen it.
It wasn't long.
That doesn't surprise me. She's...
Yeah,
I can feel sorry for Cyborg, because so much of her legacy will kind of always be sort of held back by the fact that she lost 1 fight to Amanda Nunes. And without a doubt, Amanda Nunes is the GOAT. But in terms of accomplishments at the weight of featherweight for women's MMA, it's Cyborg. And it's kind of one of those sad things where we might not ever get that sort of rematch or establishment fight. And she's going to go on, she'll defend that Bellator title at least a few more times. But it will never really be enough that maybe the 2 or 3 defenses against nothing that Amanda Nunes gets to kind of be held as the GOAT in that division as well. Obviously, she's the GOAT overall, but in featherweight.
You make a great point. But I would just quickly add that I think if Kayla Harrison does take a super fight down at 145, I think it's going to be a lot more likely it happens over at Bellator with Cyborg than in the UFC with Nunes. So I think she might get, one extra legacy fight before it's all said and done. I don't feel too bad for her. She's still got some fun shit maybe on the horizon.
That would be a sick fight. That would be awesome. I'd watch that all day long. And that would be a hell of a get for
take
Bellator.
Harrison.
That would be a hell of a get for Bellator to be able to sell that fight rather than Nunes versus Harrison.
Yeah, one thing is because obviously PFL retain the rights, is how open to negotiation would they be for a one-fight deal, kind of similar to what Bellator did with Ryzen.
I see what you mean. But then the danger
That's why I think that's more likely to happen.
The danger is, though, is that Harrison wins and then the Bellator belt gets taken away and isn't able to be defended on their own schedule.
Yeah, well, they could also do it for 55.
That'd be interesting.
But, there's a bunch of different ways to do it.
There's ways.
Anyway, even, if she won the belt and then had to go back and do PFL, they would just, strip her for fighting for another organization. It's just...
True. Do you think maybe she throws the next PFL?
No. I think it's easy money for her. So, you get all your show and you win money. And then at the end of the year, you get $1 million as well. And what is it? Like 4 fights total.
Yeah.
So whatever a contract is, 4 fights in a year where they can't throw elbows at you. Just, I don't know. It's not a bad life.
Yeah, you make a good point. Yeah. Let's move on to the news. Trying to think, is there any big news stories that come to my mind? There is one. Have you seen the Usman Nurmagomedov is being arrested for a hit and run on a police car?
Yeah, didn't they get dragged off the plane or something?
I haven't heard details like that. I just saw it flash up that man has fucked up.
Yeah, him and another athlete, another MMA fighter he trains with. I think they were actually like on their way to leave the country. Or I think it was at the airport as well. Fuck. I'm too hungover, Matt. Wait, what are the details?
I do not know. I was hoping you could tell me.
All right. Bear with me.
I'm trying to find it. We can edit this part out, don't worry.
There's no way. This is all the tense. This is all the suspense.
I know, but I'll still keep the tension, but without making it look like we're this poorly prepared.
So, yeah, it took place near the airport in Dagestan. The police were trying to stop him. The car they were in collided with an officer and continued on its way. They then took a plane to Moscow. So they actually got on the plane and got to Moscow. And that's where they were arrested and taken off the plane.
Shit.
And the policeman that was hit only has moderate injuries.
Well, that's good news. Although, it's the last person you want to hit as a policeman and then run away. I mean, that is not gonna, you're not gonna get any favors from the judge.
I mean, shit, you probably thought you got away with it once they got on the fucking plane.
You would, wouldn't you? You think I'm in a different country. I'm going to a different country. I'm safe. Nothing can hurt me.
Well, it's still kind of in Russia, but yeah, I wonder what Russian prisons like. It'll probably be really fun.
I think you'd have to put it this way: it's not a place I'd ever want to be, and I really wouldn't want to be there and not be Russian. You know what I mean?
Dagestan is like Russia, though. It's one of.
Oh no, I'm saying me personally.
Oh, right.
Personally would never want to be in a Russian prison, particularly because I don't speak
No.
Russian. Not the kind of place you want to stick out. You know what I mean? Very much if you're there, you'd want to just be able to sort of like blend in the background, not be like, hey, look, English person who doesn't understand us and therefore has no value to us.
Yeah, it's assume the nerve agents are coming. Fuck that. Anything else in the news at all?
Well, I had the news stories up and then I got distracted with that. Let me confirm for you now. To be honest, nothing major. Gilbert Burns says he's open to fighting Khamzat Chimaev. Why not? Good answer.
Yeah.
Nate Diaz has been teasing December. He's been tweeting December. People are thinking maybe he's going to be fighting.
Stepping in.
I thought about this though, and then I realized it didn't work. They literally just fought each other.
Oh wait, sorry. Yeah, because I know Nick Diaz kind of replied back, put me in for the Edwards fight. Yeah, that would have been very cool though. Sorry,
So
I'm struggling today, Matt.
I think because also I don't think that Leon Edwards is going to take a fight now unless he gets unless his next fight's the title shot. I think that's what he's gunning for. I think he's just been like, I've done what you wanted. You know, I'm not the one who's pulling out of these fights. You know, I agreed to fight Hamzat back, way that then it wasn't my fault this fell out. I've done what you wanted. Give me my title shot. I've earned it. So I think that they still want to have a big fight to go as a featured one along with the two title fights on UFC 260.
Yeah.
And if they can have a Nate Diaz, I think that's going to be beneficial for them. The question is who and what weight? Because I don't think anything's going to work out well for Nate Diaz fighting at 170 pounds. I just don't. I think he's going to consistently get the shit kicked out of him. But I keep thinking, if you're just at 155 pounds, I think there's loads of people you could beat.
I mean, yeah, he is a lot more effective at 155 than 170. And thing is, like on his day, he can surprise just about anyone. But you just wouldn't consistently kind of think that he's gonna get his way back to another title shot at any point in his career. Still, at 155, who the fuck knows? He is a big draw.
Yeah. Who would you like to see him fight if we say it's 155?
I mean, they've all everyone that would want to see him fight at 55 has just fought. I suppose Ferguson. I mean, it would probably be a big fight. It's not a fight I necessarily need to see. That might be fun though. Other than that, what I mean, because he almost fought Habib when Habib was coming up. Do they throw him in there with Makhachev? I don't know. Who are you thinking?
I was thinking potentially Makhachev. I was thinking potentially Tony. For some reason, I was thinking RDA. I don't know why I was thinking RDA because I swear they already fought and it didn't work out very well for him.
Shit, taxing the old brain
Taxing
today,
it today, mate, and making you put the work in.
When's Sly back?
Is it? Oh, he's still recovering downstairs.
Yeah, back in 2014. Oh, he's available today. He didn't see the fights. He
didn't see the fights. He's not available today.
Okay.
They are not back from their weekend fully. They're still recharging batteries, requiring of cereal and juice and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, where were we? So here's the difference. I don't think the fights for him at 155 that are available are as fun, but I think there's winnable fights. At 170, the fights might be more fun, but none of them are winnable. Really?
No. I mean, unless, maybe... Well, no, all of them, there are a lot of reasons why he wouldn't win them. At best, they're kind of 50-50s.
Exactly. So it's a tough one. Who knows? Maybe he's just trolling us as well. Maybe there is no fight. He's not going to do anything in December, and he's just tweeting the word December, and everyone's getting excited. That is very possible.
Hypothetically, though, if you're Leon Edwards, would you take the fight against Nick Diaz?
Nick Diaz?
Yeah.
No. And here's why.
Go on.
Gain nothing from it. At the very least, beating a Masvidal, let's say he fought Colby Covington, fucking Vicente Luque, who's beaten already, or something like that. You're establishing, right, motherfuckers, there you go. I've just 9-fight unbeaten streak, whatever you want to call it. I've just beaten a top contender. Deny me now.
Yeah, he's not Max Holloway though. But I think the only kind of knock that Dana has against him these days, and it's not his fault, but it's just lack of activity.
Well, here's what I mean. So let's say that you take the other approach.
All the viable names at 170.
Sorry, pal.
Sorry, go ahead. Oh, I wasn't saying anything. Sorry, I think we've got a bit of a lag going again.
It hasn't been too bad, but I think we just had a bit of a glitch thing happen there. No, so here's the issue. You take, at least if you're fighting a Masvidal, a top contender, you know that win cements your place as a title contender. But if you fight a Nick Diaz, you're getting the same situation that you've just had with Nate Diaz, which is that you're expected to win. You're probably going to win. You will win, but you could still get rocked. You still might not make it look super impressive because they're hard to finish. Even if you beat them, everyone's going to say that they're over the hill and they shouldn't have been in there with you in the first place. And whilst you have that fight going on, which banana peel could still happen, you could fuck up, something could happen and you could lose that fight, momentary loss of concentration. All the meanwhile, someone else might have a fight against one of these top contenders, and then that becomes the next title shot because of who's just fought and who's just been beaten. So
I mean, so I was just going to say we've got Chiesa against Brady this weekend, and if there's a really quick, spectacular finish from either guy, they're going to have an argument. We've got Wonder Boy coming up against Bilal Muhammad, and if Wonder Boy absolutely starches Bilal, then he's got an argument. And Edwards, his kind of big thing at the moment is that he's only lost to Usman once, whereas the other guys, well, apart from Dorino, they've lost twice. So he wants to avoid Burns. I think if he wants to sit out and wait for the title shot, it could happen. It could easily not. If I'm him and Nick Diaz is serious about jumping in there, yeah, I think you got to take that fight. And you're right. Everyone will say, oh, he's over the hill if he wins. It's still taking quite a calculated risk. But I think that just one more win in this current climate at welterweight for Leon Edwards, whoever it is against, is going to ensure a title shot.
But you see, I think...
And Nick Diaz would make him some fucking money.
But that's where I disagree.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's where I disagree with you, because every fight you take is then propelling the amount of time you've got to be off until you can next fight again further away. So right now, let's say that he was to take a Nick Diaz fight, and let's say that this was to end up being an absolute bloody win. He wins it, but he gets rocked. He's going to need 6 months again. But Usman wants to fight in April or May or something like that. What's going to happen? Well, you might get Colby and Masvidal fighting. Okay, that's probably going to be a bit further down the line if that was to happen. But okay, you start thinking, well, okay, that could build up to a potential argument to have, albeit one more away from the title shot, another shot for these guys. In the meantime, what happens if a Gilbert Burns says yes to a Khamzat Chimaev fight? And so you're waiting on the sidelines for this damage to happen. A month, 2 months later, Gilbert Burns taps out Chimaev. He's going to have the strongest argument you could imagine. What if Chimaev goes through Gilbert Burns like nothing? All of a sudden, they're looking to book that fight. And you're on there on the sidelines. and suddenly a whole different title fight could end up getting booked. And then you have a Colby Masvidal fight, which then gets that as the next title shot being booked. And people then forget the situation. And 6 months later, they're looking at it going, well, the thing about Leon Edwards is who has he really beaten? He was meant to fight these guys, and then he ended up having the weird result with Bilal Muhammad go down as a no contest, beating Nick Diaz where he got wobbled, Nate Diaz where he got wobbled, and then beating Nick Diaz. It's not really the top echelon, that becomes the narrative.
No, but the flip side is if he tries to sync up with Usman gets injured. If he hasn't taken a fight and Burns taps Chimaev, he's boxed out. If someone else comes in and makes a lot of noise, he's boxed out. So you can't really play that game too much because it's very easy that Usman could pick up a small injury and push things back a few months, and then you kind of sweating it a little bit. Do I take a fight now at this point? I've got even less time to recover in between the turnarounds. So I think it would just make so much sense if, and I don't think Nick Diaz is very serious about taking that fight at all, but if he is, Rocky's got to jump at it. Taking Nick Diaz after a long layoff where he came back a little too quick and didn't look great, and in a short notice kind of replacement, that's just kind of what you got to do, I think.
Yeah, well, we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out. I think it would be a mistake. I think he should take another fight, but he shouldn't take anybody ranked lower than 5 or 6, and stay the fuck away from Chimaev.
Yeah, it doesn't leave a lot left though, and those guys are really dangerous. So, shit. That's you're top of the food chain. That's what your life's like, I guess.
This is true. Aside from that, I can't see any other major things in the news, to be honest.
No, I can see Sean Strickland's been involved in some kind of road rage incident that he's posted online. I'll watch that video later. That will be fun.
Very nice.
Yeah, looks like it's pretty much about it.
Buddy, I'll leave you to it until the pick show. Guys, tune in for the pick show later this week. Until then, bye Dave, bye Laurie,
bye Laurie, bye Dave.